In today's episode, I'll show you how I put together some of our tables and chairs into quick set tavern props. So what we're going to be putting together is one of these. Now this is a bit of our tavern props put together on an acrylic sheet. It is clear so we can set it down on the table and still see all of our ground terrain that we put together. So what we're going to use is this. It's a 1mm acrylic sheet. Now this is a 6" by 4" piece that I found on Amazon. Now what we're going to do is leave the plastic coating on and just kind of line everything up to cut this into 4 pieces. I want these to be a 3" by 2" rectangle. That gives us a lot of room to work with. Now if you want to pick these up yourself, I'm going to put a link in the description below. It'll lead you to the Amazon page where I found them. If you do pick them up through the link, it does give me a small little commission. Doesn't cost you anything extra, but it's a great way to help support the channel at no extra cost. So as you can see here, scoring it a couple of times lets you just kind of very carefully break it at that score line. It breaks pretty clean most of the time. If it doesn't, you can kind of snip away or break away the remaining pieces with not a whole lot of effort using a pair of pliers or a pair of snips. Now the only downside to this is as you score it and break off your rectangular sections, it will leave a slight raised edge that you're going to need to sand down if you don't want to have that. You can sand it down with like an emery board or a nail file or something like that. It's pretty easy to do. Now, what I should have done here is flipped the piece over so that the protective coating was facing up as I scored it. It doesn't really hurt the finished product, but it would have made it a little bit cleaner of a cut. So as you can see, it's struggling just a little bit to break there, but once it does break, it's still a pretty smooth line, and as you can see, we've now got a couple of nice little plastic acrylic rectangles. So as you can see on the finished piece here, I beveled the edges. This just kind of removes a couple of sharp corners that could poke players or yourself as you're doing gameplay, so we're just going to eyeball a little kind of 45-degree cut, do a couple of scores, and break off all 4 corners. So we've got our score line here, and there we go. Alright, so I'll do the rest of the corners and we'll be right back. Okay, so like I said before, we sometimes get it where it doesn't quite break off altogether. So here it kind of left a little bit behind. So I'm going to use a pair of snips and just very carefully flex it away, and it breaks off the remainder. And then we can use this to clean up any other edges that might have some bits that got left behind on the score lines. Alright, so now to make things a little bit nicer to handle, I'm going to grab a emery board that I got from the Dollar Tree and just kind of do a quick little sand of all the corners. I'm not looking to make them perfectly rounded, just remove that little kind of sharp bump on the edge. Now, I've got a bunch of these acrylic sheets from the order that I picked up, so in future videos I'm probably going to make some more quick set terrain, you know, like bookcases and piles of books and things like that, just for quick setup in various areas for gameplay and dungeons and things like that. I really like this because then you can see what's underneath everything and you don't have to make specific stylized platforms for everything to go on. Okay, so now it's time to start attaching everything, and we're going to use this. This is some gel Loctite super glue. So we're going to apply a quick little line of it on the bottom of the table, and then just stick it as centered as we can. Hold it for a few seconds for the glue to start to set, and now we can start planning out where we want our benches and our chairs. So to kind of make it look a little bit more organic, we're going to place them kind of haphazardly and a little bit askew, like someone just kind of stepped out of the table and things like that. So for the bench, you do just a quick little line along the bottom edges, and the chairs, just a little drop on the bottom of each of the chair legs. Now the bench I left pretty straight along the table. The chairs I'm going to do a little bit more crooked. It just kind of helps everything look a little bit nicer in my opinion. Now the gel doesn't set up immediately, so if you don't like the placement you can kind of move things around, but it will kind of permanently blemish the acrylic, so keep that in mind. It's better to move it just a little instead of picking it up and moving it to a different spot. You'll constantly have that little mark on the acrylic reminding you that something was there. Alright, so once you have everything in place, just kind of set it aside and let it cure for about 5-6 minutes, and everything will be there permanently and it will never come off again. Alright, so I've got 2 of these here, and the reason we went with our 2x3 rectangles is because putting them end to end gives you enough space for a standard sized miniature to move in between them. So you can set these up for a tavern setting and have little encounters where people are moving in between the tables and things like that. But setting them end to end like this won't really give you a whole lot of room to move models in between. Although you still could, it'll be really cramped. So I'd recommend if you do stuff like this, set them just a little bit apart so that you still have room to move people in between. So these are a really fun little thing, and they're really nice for making just quick terrain. Oh, I need a table setting or a pile of crates or something like that, and then just plop one thing down on the table as opposed to digging through and finding a whole bunch of different things. Alright, so let's see it in a little bit more of a setup tavern setting. So I put this together pretty quick using a couple of dungeon tiles just to kind of show you how quickly things can get moved around and shifted to be a different setting. And I did make 1 set or 2 sets that didn't have any food or plates on them, just to kind of have a little bit of extra variance. You know, you're not always going to have a full table. So thanks everyone for watching. Tune in next time. I will show you how I put together the dungeon walls you saw in the background here. Thank you all for watching. Please hit that like button, subscribe for future content, comment in the comments section, and we will see everyone next episode.